Alrighty, so one arty, pretty much same comps. They're maybe ever so slightly heavier, but that's not like prohibitively so. You're a mid-tier. Alright, oh no, you're bottom tier heavy. Okay. Oh, that's right, you're an A45. Yeesh. So a lot of times, especially in these bottom tier heavies, I'll play through this middle area here, because basically as you're driving out here, you can get an idea of what your team is doing, going one way or the other, and then you can support. It's like, this is a situation, like, it looks like you're headed north here. This is a situation where if you don't actually get some higher tier tanks on this north tier, then you don't necessarily want to go, because you guys aren't going to be able to push this, depending on what happens on the rest of the map. And you'll see a lot of people ISO themselves up here, which is generally a problem. Like, see how you're sending your light tanks through here? That's fine, it's not that big of a deal. You're sending most of your heavies down this way, which is also fine. That's almost what you want to see. You basically need just enough people here to anchor this side, and then what you want to try to do from this east side, I always feel, is play through this middle area here and here in order to get these guys out. Like this, where this WZ-120 is at, is a very vulnerable position. So that's something that you're always looking to get out. But so you're basically sending 3/8 and yourself up here, which is a decent amount of weight. But you got to see what you're going to counter up here. So you know the 4502B is there. You know the WZ-120 and the T-49 are here, right? So you always go by subtraction on what's lit. Like, these guys aren't magically going to warp over here, at least not immediately. So we'll keep an eye on that as you come around through this side. And that's the advantage of having intel, is that it tells you where guys aren't, or if you do get intel from up here, it tells you what you're going to be up against. And then you do want to move forward here a bit. You've got enough weight here that you got to make something happen. You can't have 4 guys camping back here, while, especially when you watch this south side over here, when you see more and more and more of their tanks coming up. Like, knowing that this ISU is down here is important, because that means that he's not going to be up here. You guys can get into position where you can shoot that 122.4 or that 210. So the thing is that where these guys are at is actually safer than where you're at. Because they're basically hulled down to these guys in that ditch below, and they can always just back up. In order for you to get any shots at all, you have to drive forward over this hill, which exposes you to a lot of things down there. This is also an artillery lane through here, whereas these guys are reasonably safe from artillery, depending on whether their artillery gets down here or not. But for the most part, they're safe right now. So this is actually a more dangerous position defensively, and it's a less useful position offensively. So it's the worst of both worlds. And you're going to struggle to pen that T-54 Proto in the turret using just regular AP shells. And you did get a magical bounce though, which is good. And again, this is a situation where if these are the shots that you're going to take, you might as well switch to APCR, which you just did. But this is what the APCR is for, is if you feel like, hey, this is the only shot I'm going to get. And also, remember, you are above him, so you technically can, if he's not giving you enough of the lower glaciers, you technically can shoot into the upper glaciers because of the elevation difference and the distance that you're at. Again, see how that 4043 got lit there? That's fantastic. You guys are pushing through there. You got to be careful because you're probably going to lose down there. They've got a lot of weight on that south. So you want to make this happen here. And so ideally it's by taking this guy out. See how these guys have pushed up underneath here? So there's, again, like I said, there's a hill basically between where this T10 is at and where this Pershing is at, where those guys can't really engage each other. You know the 4043 is back there. You know that the ISU is on the other side of the map. So that reduces the likelihood that there's going to be people back in this area shooting up at you. So you need to be a little bit more aggressive and actually deal damage to this T-54 Proto. Like, now is the time for you to use your health/gun. Like, what I would do is literally just drive up over here and then shoot down into him. This is a situation where it's, again, you got to be brave for your team, a lot of it. You're just kind of hanging out a little bit too much. And even as a bottom tier tank, he's giving you lower glaciers now. Not even sure where that penned, but alright. And then now just push. Just push. Just go. Somebody's got to do it. Oh, and he's giving you butt.
Enemy is hit. We've damaged them.
And then what you need to do is somebody needs to clear this guy out. It doesn't need to be you because you've got some speed tanks going that way. You're going to need to defend. And defending through this area right here, given where your guys are, is probably the best position. Because these guys are going to come through here. What you want to be able to do, essentially, if you can get to that T-54's position, it would be great. But I don't know that you'll be able to. You'll probably end up starting right here. You're not going to get any shots from where you're at. You need to be a lot closer than that. Like your plan right now should be, hey, how can I preserve the health of this T-10 here as much as possible? Your team can theoretically cap and screen. They've got a relatively slow team left over. You don't want to swing too wide out here because you can get ISO'd behind this rock. And again, now's the time for APCR, my man.
We didn't even scratch them.
You don't need to try to land it on the port, especially from that range. Just go APCR. Those will damn it. Your guys are getting killed in this back here. It's just a little bit too much. Again, you are the bottom tier tank, but you're not making your gun very useful, and that's sort of the bigger problem here. These guys are not focusing on you. None of these guys have been focusing on you. You're just not getting your gun involved. Like now you are, which is good, right? You get shots on this guy. Get your gun involved. That E75 is low. You don't know what the... Oh, almost. Keep going to your... So at this point, what you want to do, because you're not lit, just keep going over to this side to increase the angle there, and then you can deal damage through that drive wheel. Dealing damage through that drive wheel from this angle is going to be difficult.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
So you just want to go over while you have them trapped.
We didn't penetrate their
Too
armor.
late.
We've damaged them.
And you didn't need to close... See, the distance that you traveled between when you could hit him and you couldn't hit him, right, was from where you are right now to just about that bush, right? So if you had closed that distance down a little bit earlier, then you could have saved your light tank that was over that 1390 or whatever it was. You potentially could have saved that guy just by closing that angle down. And then now you have to be a little bit more conservative, right? Now you don't have very much of a choice. They've still got the 4502B, although he's on this side. You don't know where the T26E5 is at. So now you have to be a little bit more conservative.
We didn't penetrate their armor. That one didn't go
And again, this should be all APCR all the time. This is clutch time.
We didn't penetrate
This
their
is
armor.
clutch time.
We fixed the track. Get going. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
Same thing, you can hit this guy. Nice try. I mean, I probably would have rushed that shot as well, just because that angle was closing down. You need to be aggressive here against this T-54 Proto. You need to be You need to be the aggressor. Just do it. You need to be aggressive. No. So the reason why you need to be aggressive is that you have 1100 health. This guy's got 183 health, right? And you know that this Type 62 is, you know, he might not be able to beat this E5. So you need to just go and get this done before this guy can actually get backed up. So again, a lot of this is just figuring out, and again, so you're approaching him at a very sharp angle. What you actually want to do is approach out through here and then cut in, because what's going to happen is you're going to proxy him as you get close enough here, and then he's going to start turning his gun. If you cut out a little bit wider, he's not going to have that opportunity to react.
Target acquired. Enemy armor is hit. Got him.
And then what you're looking to do is try to get this guy down next. And again, see, given his positioning, you can actually probably shoot him from over here. See how he's out on that road right there? So he's basically on the other side of this building from this Type 62, and you're going this way. It is entirely possible that these guys are coming back through here, which is something that you'll need to know anyways. But you need to go someplace where you can... That guy's just going to basically camp there until the Type 62 dies, right? So if you come through here, you can even turn around now with this intel. If you come through here, you put these guys in a tough position because they can't counter push through here. They're in an arty position. They have to drive up this hill in order to get after you, and you can get shots on the E5. So this is another important moment where all you got to do is recognize the situation and then just drive back. Because basically what you're doing right now is you're saying, oh, okay, let's take these top tier, let's take this top tier heavy on frontally instead of actually moving to a flanking position. And especially in a bottom tier tank, if you can get to that flanking position easily, oh, you thought about it. I saw you. You thought about it. You're like, oh, maybe I should go this way. And then you didn't.
We didn't even scratch them. We've damaged them.
And unfortunately, that is how your game will end. You can actually shoot under this tank here. Backing up, but yeah, this is not good trading for you, right? This is not an area where you want to be like, hey, let's see how much I can trade with these guys with much bigger guns, more health, more armor than me. You do need to light them, so you want to stop about right here, right? Give your arty a chance to maybe one-shot the 45 OTB if you get lucky, and that's your opportunities. You need to sit on this corner and spot them as they come around, and then back, right? And then once you back around here, then you can turn around and just book it. Like, you can theoretically turn your tank around right now if you want. You just need to stay out here. Well, I wouldn't swing so wide out, but no. You absolutely want to come back through here, though. There's nowhere that you can go out here that's going to end up being good for you. You want to draw this out against a much slower tank. This is not going to end well. So you want to do exactly that, where you light him, but you don't want to be anywhere where he can shoot you. He can't catch up to you. He's a much slower tank, especially on this terrain. T-34, much slower tank, especially on this terrain. You're just giving it away. Just giving your health away. You do need to keep him lit, though, for artillery. Again, remember, it's going to take him a while to cross that gap. Oh, where are you going? You don't want to allow him to close that gap. That distance is the only thing that's giving you a chance.
We're done for. Everyone, get out.
Yeah. So a number of issues here. So again, you need to make your gun a little bit more active when you're not the focus. If the other team is focusing their attention on you, certainly sit back, slow play it. But those guys certainly, for almost the entirety of that game, they didn't really care what you did or whether you were there or not. And there were just far too many opportunities where you should have been using your gun, where you were just kind of hanging out. And that was a big problem. And then you guys eventually ended up playing through this north side well enough, which is good. Luckily, their artillery was up over here, which is pretty much the most useless position for artillery, but you'll see a lot of guys go there still. The important thing is that you were able to win through this area, and that allows you to come up through here and then shore up through down here. Ideally, what would have happened in that late game, once you took down that T-54 Proto, you did nibble a little bit too much against that guy, but ideally what would have happened is that you would have come over here to catch these guys coming across and force them to make a decision. Do I want to drive up here after this guy, or do I want to let him shoot me in the butt? You also would have had shots on that T-26E5, who was pinned there by the T-62. The T-62 was also pinned by the T-26E5, but you would have had shots on that guy, right? And it's a lot of this is about preserving the lives of your, especially of your higher tier tanks, and you had opportunities to do that, and I feel like you just weren't aggressive enough for people that weren't even shooting at you. Like, again, if it was the case where, you know, I forget what that heavy was down here, not the IS-6, the other one, maybe it was a T-10. I think it was a T-10 that was down here. Like, if it's a situation where T-10 is like he's waiting for you to poke around the corner, that's fine. Like, you don't need to poke against that guy. But if he's obviously engaged elsewhere, you need to get your gun involved. And if that means moving from, you know, this rock to this rock or this rock to here so you can get more shots, then you got to do it. You can't play, even in a bottom tier tank, you can't play so passively when you have an opportunity, when the other team is disrespecting you. When the other team is saying, it's just an A45, what's he going to do? Right? You got to make them pay. You have to make them respect you. And I felt like if you did that more, you actually probably could have won. I think probably the easiest difference in the game, even once you were down a lot of health, would have been for you at that late game when they only had 3 tanks left, was to come back through here to get shots on that T-26E5 and spot and create a problem for their guys that were going to come through this middle here. That would have been huge. And you even started going this way, and then you stopped and you thought about it for a second, and then you kept going forward, which was sort of the problem. But if you had come here initially, that they still would have, all they would have had to do is keep driving through, but at least they would have had an issue, or maybe you could track one out there, the T-34, not so much the 45-2B, the Alpha and the A-45 is not that awesome. But, you know, at least they would have had something to think about. Again, your instinct was what you see out of a lot of puppies, which is, oh, I'll go shoot them in the face rather than I'll go shoot them in the side or the back. Shooting tanks, especially when you're bottom tier, shooting tanks in the side or the back is always preferable. I mean, it just makes your life easier when you can do that. Stop trying to take people on frontally. And then in the end game, again, just tactically against that 4502B, recognize that he's a slower tank than you, and just spot him as he comes around this corner, let your arty get a shot, then run away, right? And you probably won't be able to get very far because you won't be able to get out of that ditch. You don't know where the T-34 is at, but you don't want to fight the 4502B frontally. That's just not your game. That's never, well, not never. 99% of the time, that's not going to end in your favor, you fighting a 4502B frontally. You need to be sly. You need to be clever. You need to run away and let your teammates help you. All right. Otherwise, I mean, I thought you did reasonably well. There's some areas where you should have used APCR and you didn't, especially when it gets down to money time. Money time is where you use the premium shells. That's why you loaded them on the tank. Think of it this way: you've already paid for those shells, right? Those credits have already been deducted. So if they're going to be of some use, you know, you might as well use them. All right, and we don't have stats for that because you ended a little bit early, but I'm guessing that you lost because they still have a full health 4502B. I mean, you still have a light tank, but yeah, not bad for a mystery replay. GG, nice try. Still felt like you could have won that in a bottom tier A45 though, and then you would have been able to brag to all of your, you would have been able to brag to the stream that you carried in an A45, and we all would have had to bow down. All right, so next we'll look at Only Tough Online's T29 game on Pilsen. Oops, that did not work. Yeah, I mean, but it's just an example of how even very slight positioning decisions can affect the outcome of the game, which is why I'll pause this for a second so I can talk about this. Which is why you want to sort of the idea is that you want to cultivate good habits because you think less. You'll have to think less if you have good habits. So if you're thinking, like when you're that bottom tier guy, especially in the mid to late game, if you're thinking as always, man, how do I shoot people in the butt? Like if that's like your general mode of I'm gonna drive around trying to figure out how I can shoot people in the butt, like that will work for you because it'll put you in better positions. Typically you still have to use your head, right? Like if I know that they've got two guys coming up the ramp here and two guys going the other way, yeah, I don't want to go over there to shoot the two guys going the other way because two guys driving up the ramp are going to shoot me. But that wasn't the case in the match that you were in. And so to me a lot of playing the game is not making, you can't hit pause in the game and think about the layouts and think about the tanks that you're up against and think about whether, are they going to go this way or are they going to go that way. You don't have all that time to just sit there and, write a dissertation on the outcome. But what you can do, and sort of what I'm trying to get at here, is that once you get yourself into good habits, like that will end as that, that will be the result of the process. That you will be in those positions because you've got those habits of, I need to get on, I don't want to be fighting these guys frontally, so I want to take any path that I possibly can to fight them in the side or in the rear, sort of thing. Alrighty. So, bottom tier T-29, pretty much similar comps, no artillery. You do have to play through this side over here. T-29 is not actually too bad playing through here. You can play on either side of this. I like playing through the middle as opposed to the outside, but you got to see what your team does. Neither team has a whole lot of armor. Neither the M103s, which are the armor tanks in this game, are like particularly super skilled. But you do want to be able to set up through this side. Again, remember, it's very easy, especially without artillery, it's very easy to come back to defend the caps. You don't really need to worry about the cap side at all. You just need to be worried about if they push across and come around to flank you. But usually you'll have more than enough heads up about that happening. And if you take care of business on your side, then you don't really have to worry about anything else. And then see how you've got a bunch of guys going to this middle here. That's not going to be super useful. One of your teammates is going out here, which again, given the comp, right, and the fact that you've got two heavies in your group, this guy should probably be with you, and that way you guys can actually figure out, like, let's say there's a small opening there. A small opening, if you were top tier tanks, you can do with two tanks or even with one tank, but with bottom tier tanks, if you've got all three of you and you can see a small opening, then you can push that together. This is a situation where, like, this guy should recognize that there's not going to be a whole lot that he's not going to be able to duel these guys out here in his T20. So, like, being out here at all is kind of irrelevant. Once again, it's really easy to stop, to defend the cap. You just don't want to allow them to come all the way across and flank you. So this guy could actually be over more towards your guys' side so that he can actually help you if you guys need help. So you don't actually want to hang out on this side. You see a lot of people hang out over here. It's actually much better to hang out on this side. I like shooting down these doors. These doors actually count as like a solid object. But if you hang out up here, you can get shots into there. You'll still be hauled down, but the advantage is that you can get a shot from here, right? And if you shoot these doors, you'll have more of a window where you can get the shot. But you can get a shot from here, but then you back up and then you're stuck behind here. And if they're just waiting there, then you're basically stuck behind this building. But you can do the exact same thing from right here, right? You can get the exact same shot. You can be hauled down even a little bit better, arguably. And then once you back up, you can just go in through here. So I see a lot of people sit in this position. I don't really think that it's particularly useful. See, because now, like, if you're where this 5120 is, now you can just go on your merry way, right? You get your shot and you can go. Now you have to wait until you drop spot, and then you have to hope that he's not going to shoot you. Okay, he backed up. But see how like that was like far more roundabout. Unfortunately, your IS is the only guy that moved forward here, which is not so good. You do need to get some intel. I don't like soloing this outside line, especially in a bottom tier tank. But apparently it's good that you get here. Just push this guy. Just push him. So the reason why I'm saying for you to push him is this corner is desperate. So if this guy even burns, he already shot at least once, probably twice. If this guy burns the rest of his clip on you, then that's less damage that these guys are going to take, because these guys are about to get hammered, right? And so you want to make yourself. This is basically what I consider burning a little bit of your health for your teammates, or potentially anyways, by being out here. Maybe he won't shoot at you still, right? And that's good for him in terms of discipline, because it's not like he can just run away from you because he's already facing the wrong direction. 5120 is not going to be that fast turning around. But if he is ill-disciplined and he does shoot at you, then that helps your guys right here, because if he is allowed to sit there and use his whole clip on these guys, then you got problems. Okay, now the IS-3 is there. Okay, now you can back off a little bit. Although the IS-3 did shoot, so you have to keep that in mind. And you can play, so especially without artillery, you need to play this corner strong. So which means you need to be all the way up on that corner and then just basically reverse out to get shots on the IS-3 here. Because you need to put some pressure through here, because this 5120 is clipping, right? So you're not worried about him. So although if you can hit the 5120, fantastic, but you need to be more of a presence here. And again, this is a situation where you're the bottom tier tank, but that guy's most likely clipping, otherwise he only has one shot left maybe. And this IS-3 is your competition. So see how that IS-3 just fired? You don't even need to back up. Turn around, go forward, get your shot, and then back up, and then get yourself in better position, because you're not in a good position to get shot on this IS-3. So just move forward. There you go. Excellent. Wow, he reloaded fast there. You backed away from him. You actually want to be closer to him, because otherwise all he has to do is just poke around there to shoot you. If you're close to him, you can at least control the angle at which he attacks into you. Your guys are about to die over here, so this window is closing pretty rapidly. The other T-29 is a little bit too far back. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing back there, but hopefully he's supporting the team. Again, you have to be careful about moving back through here, because you can shoot through these doors. You need to pressure this IS-3, because once you get this IS-3 down, then at least there's nobody banking on that corner. Ideally, what would happen is your T-29 buddy would well, actually, I guess ideally he would come over on this side. But maybe he feels like he has shots over here on these guys. But I don't, like, this is a very precarious position through this middle here. You have an opportunity to kill this IS-3 though, which is probably going to be the better course. Like this T-30 doesn't look like you can recognize it, but this T-30 can actually kill you right now. Lol. Alright, that works. So unfortunately that essentially sacrifices these guys right here, because there's nobody anchoring that corner anymore. Lol. Get shot in T-30. Get shot in T-30.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Yeah, unfortunately now they're on this side, and your buddy is over here now. Why did he leave? He should have either been on this side of this building or this side of this building, because either side he can get shots on these guys as they push in, but he just needs to position himself a little bit better. Like he's not in anywhere where he can actually support you. Like they actually need to like push all the way to where you're at right now, more or less, for him to actually get good shots. Which again, these guys are still alive over here, right? This E50 is still alive, this 5120 is still alive, and the M103 is still alive. Like it's not like you've lost that area, but you guys, this tier 8, this tier 7, this tier 7, you've given up their flank. You've said, have at them. Go shoot my friends in the butt. And that's a problem. This 229 might back up into your... You need to move forward a little bit to get that shot, if that's what it takes. This 5120 is pushing here. It's a little bit less of a concern. It's going to be difficult for him. He could clip out one of you, but not both. Especially if he misses. And then right now you need to ignore that T-29 just to deal with this guy, because at the very worst you can at least relieve some pressure off of that one line. Oh my god! Oblivious T-29 is oblivious. Like, I hope you guys are in TeamSpeak and this guy's like, hey, why don't you just shoot this guy that's right next to you? Alright, but they got him down. And again, you do need to push forward to get the T-29 out now. Push forward, push forward, push forward, push forward. There's nobody over there. There's nobody over there. Push forward. Look, he's right there. He's right there. Prevent him from killing your team. No, just do it. Just push forward. Forward. Forward would have made you safer from the T-30, not less. Yeah. Shoot.
Critical hit.
Now it's going to be a little bit rough. You needed to find some way to save your friends. Unfortunately, your M103 left that area as well, which didn't help. But basically, your team abandoned those guys on that side, which is a problem. They abandoned that E50 and the 5120, and they were just like, "Good luck, guys. I hope you win. Let us know. Send us a postcard." And so you just need to be a little bit more aggressive here and attack one of these guys.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Because you still have a bit of an advantage. That T-29 track armor. And you need to push here. You need to push. So what you need to do, what your buddy needs to do is actually just push across. But you guys need to push onto this M103. The IS-6 is in the back and he'll get a shot on you. But that works too. And then now what you need to do is figure out how you can get that IS-6 down. Unfortunately, you've lost this flank now, and your buddy never left this side. He still needs to come out over here. Remember, it's very, very easy to guard. There's this hill that's right here, especially when there's no artillery. All you got to do, you can be hauled down here all day. And they got to drive across a big open area to get to you all day. If they want to get on cap, you can be hauled down, lighting them all day. So there's very little reason to be east of the cap at this point. That shot. Okay, and then now what you actually need to do is, so that we don't know where the ISU is, he still might be coming through this lane right here, so you need to take this outside. See how this guy's pushing west here? That's fantastic for him. Unfortunately, you didn't have anybody in position yet to actually counter that, otherwise it's actually pretty easy to counter. You don't need to go to the same side as your buddy here. Oh, so KV5 went around. T-29 is coming across. Uh-oh, what's your? And then see, this is another thing that I hate about platoons. Is like you guys aren't actually doing the same things. Like there's no communication of, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. It's just like, hey, you know, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and hopefully we win.
Bail out. This vehicle has had it.
And again, it's a little bit harder as bottom tier tanks, but you had plenty of opportunities to make a difference in this game. Specifically, you had an opportunity to make a difference in defending your guys. If you have to die to defend your higher tier tanks, right? So be it. Like that sometimes has to be the case. Like sometimes you're going to have to die. And one of the things we harp about on the stream all the time is that it's just a video game. So don't be afraid to die. Don't be afraid to be in a bad position if that's where you need to be. You can't allow these guys to move around to the flanks of your team to kill your top tier tanks because you moved back into an area. And that goes that's not just on you, because you were at least the one that was forward. Right, that Karen could have come forward, your other buddy could have come forward, your T-20 could have shifted over and helped. Like there was a lot of people, even though they were bottom tier, that could have made a huge difference through there. Right, and again, one of the things about the T-29, tactically speaking, is that when you're close to somebody in the T-29, it's actually got better armor than when you're far away. Like if you're at 100 meters, it's pretty easy to shoot them. But when you're close, right, even if they have good gun depression, you control the angle, you control, they can't shoot you in the face, right? You control a lot of things, and that's the advantage of these American heavies, is that in that, like when you're on that corner against that IS-3, you actually have the advantage against the IS-3 on that corner. It's a little bit of a short passage between those 2 points there, but especially if he's shooting at that cairn, you have the advantage to keep him honest and to deal damage to him, because you're basically on opposite sides of the same corner. You control that distance there, and that's to your advantage. When you fade back away from the corner, like to the distance between you and where that 430 is at right now, that's when he starts to have the advantage, because then it becomes really easy for him to just shoot you here, right? Otherwise, what he has to do is he has to drive around the corner and then shoot you in the side, which is much more difficult, and which you'll see much less. But I really felt like you could have saved your team there potentially, and that could have made the difference, especially if you'd done it a little bit faster, not just in terms of keeping them alive, but then you guys could have gotten up over here, which would have prevented these guys from coming across there for free. Again, remember, it's really easy to play this ridge here, especially when there's no artillery. There's no reason for your T20 platoon mate to have been out on this east side really at all, especially when he starts heading out there. He sees that there's a single bulldog on his team out there. There's no real reason. A lot of times for medium tanks, what you're looking to do is actually support. Like you see, like that's what their Leo did, that's what their 5120 did. You know, those are the types of plays that win you games when you play over on this west side here. You didn't get a whole lot out of your team, but theoretically you could have won that, I think. Especially if your platoon played a little bit more like they were a platoon. Like it was like you guys were all in a platoon, but you all spoke different languages, so nobody understood each other. So you're like, hey, come over here and help me, and they just hear wah 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 wah, and they're just like, I don't know, man, I don't know what that guy wanted. But yeah, I mean, like, this isn't enough out of you guys for the positioning that you had. But you had a pretty good shooting game, so that's good. Just remember the T-29 or these American heavies in general. They're good at that close range fighting, especially against those Russian heavies. Once the Russian heavy gets to the side, then okay, they've got that advantage back. But on those corners, I really feel like the American heavies have the advantage, and especially, you know, they're making some changes to the overmatch, and that's going to benefit these American heavies because the side armor won't get panned at quite so steep an angle. It'll matter a little bit more for bigger guns, like if that ISU was actually in a position to shoot anybody. But GG, nice try. Alright, the next one we'll look at is Iamyourleader's WZ-132, which hopefully does not contain too much sniping. We shall see. Oh, that's not the right one. I'm replaying the same one. Close it. There we go, that's the right one. Alright, you did get the awful spawn, but that's fine. You're still pretty fast. Top tier game. Well, not. It's a. You're a bottom tier tank in a tier 10 game. Alrighty. There is no artillery. So one of the things that you can do is you can spot out through here. I actually find that you don't need to go all the way forward. You'll see a lot of light tanks move all the way forward. They basically weaken this position so you can't dominate from it, which is probably a good idea. And basically the problem is that if you drive forward to this position now, you can basically get pinned there. So you definitely don't want to do that. And you don't need to do that, especially if you have reasonable view range. You can basically hang out in this middle area here and rely upon your superior camo. You just got to be sure that you don't get shot because they're trying to shoot at your teammates in the back. But you'll see as you drive, presuming that you actually drive up here, you'll see that this blue circle, which is the limit of your detection, 445 meters, will be more than enough to cover this backside here. Mountain Pass is actually a relatively small map. So you're not going to be able to spot maybe some of the light tanks, but that's fine because the light tanks also aren't going to be able to spot you. And if you're going to sit out here, you want to sit out here. So one metric that you could do is basically you can be near that bush area. I don't like sitting in that bush because it doesn't really, from that distance, the camo isn't really helping you. You can rely upon your regular camo, and then like we'll stop this here. Right, and then so if we look at this now, let's see, I can see it. Yeah, I can see most of the map. So you'll see that you cover most of that path right there. They're going to be back a little bit more in the ditch. Oh, so you do need to be further forward than the bush anyways. I guess you could go closer to this bush. But let's see right now, you've covered everything in the back. So what does this mean? What does this functionally mean? So let's say that you have optics on your WZ-132, and the WZ-132 has a base view range of, you know, whatever, 410, 420. It's probably pretty close to max. I wish I would say it there, but it's something where you can achieve the maximum view range really easily with just optics, right? So you'll pass over the optics. So if your view range was actually just 445 meters, right? So you didn't have optics, or you were in a tank with less view range, then what that would mean is that any tank with no camo, with zero camo, right? Every single tank has camo, but has some value of camo. But most tanks, right? I'm sorry, any tank with zero camo, you can spot if they pass through that blue line. And then for every % of camo that they do have, it reduces how far you can detect them, right? So you can start reducing this circle sequentially as you lose percentage points, or as they gain camo points, however you want to look at it. Now, the reason why you have why I generally get above 445 view range, because I put optics on my light tanks, and then I also have the if I have a good enough crew, I have the commander skill to get view range, and I recon. And I also have the radio man skill if there's a radio man. I don't think there is on the WZ-132, right? You'll get situational awareness, but my point is that you'll have oftentimes above 445 view range. And so what that means, so let's say that you have 5 per, let's say instead of 445 view range, you have 5% above whatever that is, right? So then you have like 460 view range, somewhere in that range. So what that means is that you're going to cut into people's camo. So if somebody else has a camo of 5% and you have over 5%, those will basically negate each other. The math doesn't quite work like that, but let's just pretend like it does. So basically, if you have 5% over and they have 5% camo, you can still spot them if they cross through that blue line. So a lot of these tanks, and tanks that we're interested about knowing what happens, right? So like, you don't want to allow these JPEs to cross. You don't want to allow this FE-183 to cross. You don't want to allow a lot of these slower, heavier tanks to cross, because that's what's going to create problems for your guys down here. So you just need to be far enough to spot those guys. I don't generally spend too much time trying to spot the light tanks, because typically speaking, if you can spot the light tank, they can probably spot you. And so it doesn't matter whether you're moving or not. It would matter a little bit whether you're behind a bush or not. So you're going forward here, and again, like, notice that you spotted that T-22. I wish I could go back without it bugging out the replay. but you spotted that T-22 about 10 meters back, right? And so what that suggests is that for the amount of camo that that guy had, you really didn't need to be as close as you were in order to do it. And again, this is at this point, like, see how, so this is the back of this hill now. There's basically no tank in the game that has enough camo to, you know, within reason, I suppose. If they have a good enough crew and if they're running a camo net and, you know, they're sitting there, but they might be able to do it. But for the most part, there's no tank, and that's the thing about Mountain Pass is that people always underestimate in terms of light tanks. This is not a very long distance. It's very easy for you to spot them. It's very easy for them to spot you if you move close enough, which is why moving up here is always dangerous, which is why sitting out here with this WZ-132 is dangerous. So you're going to play in here, which is, it's not necessarily bad. Especially if it's against the WZ-132. You actually want to stop a little bit closer to this right here, because for one of two reasons. One, you want to pin this guy out here, right? Your Panther 2's here, he's going to get shots. You know that this T-22 is crossing, but you also know that he doesn't have a whole lot of backup yet. He's also taking a long way around. But even if he wasn't, if he was taking the short way around, it would take him a while to get either up here to get shots down at you or over here to get shots down at you on this side. So you want to take this time. Luckily, this guy's not playing very, very brilliantly, but you want to take your time as far as your positioning. Because you're actually driving into a more dangerous position. So you took a lot of health to kill a single lower tier tank. Luckily, none of these guys were paying attention to you. They had their own problems. Alright, that's fine. So the problem is, though, mostly that you completely bled out here, and that's a little bit of a problem. Again, one of the reasons why I like to play right there, especially when there's no artillery, like if they put a lot of their speed over here, okay, I agree with you, take that route to get out, but otherwise you basically bled out to a lower tier tank, and that's unacceptable because it basically made it so that you can't do a whole lot for the rest of this game. Like you can't really push the pace at any point. And then it looks like they're going to be able to control this side right here, so you can't play through this middle anymore. You do have a lot of guys coming around through this side, so hopefully they'll make something happen. But you need those guys to push because you've basically bled out to the point that you're one shot to every single tank in the game. And you can get a little bit closer now, especially once you see that JPE fire, you can start getting a little bit closer. I mean, your team still has to do something because you don't know what kind of backup that he has. And you should have looked to track him there rather than... And you can still make this happen, right? You just need your teammates to do it because you can't do it for them. You should... See how these guys are pushing through here? You should be right behind them, just waiting. And if they push, get your free damage. Like, there's nothing that you can really do to harm these guys right here. These guys will get shots, right? But these guys can get shots without you. These guys aren't so far away that they can't be spotted. So you coming back over here isn't really super helpful. Lol. Shoot him in the track. Oh, his track is just below where you can see. This is not a good angle. Shoot in the back. Yeah. Oh, there, now he's tracked. No, you just shoot at the back door. There you go. If you want to, you can drive forward just a little bit. And the reason why you would be to prevent these guys from shooting you in by just leaning over. And then see how these guys theoretically may or may not push here? Like, that's sort of what I wanted to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, I don't think that those guys are going to be super successful over there now. You guys have moved a couple of people up underneath here. That's potentially good. You already lost that west side, though. And see, like in situations where that JPE fires, you can get to the side of them. Just do it. Gotta risk it. Okay, that's fine. You don't need to get too close. You don't need to get too close. You shoot the... No. So right now, what you should be doing, you should be aimed right here. This drive wheel right here. Like this should be your next shot, because what you're looking to do is track him. You're looking to track him for a couple of reasons. One, your 121's locked in with this Type 4 heavy, but he's on his side, so that's good. That's a good position for him. This guy looks like he's turning around towards you, and you can track him in a position where he can't shoot your friend or you. So that has to be the shot that you need to take here. Like shooting him high right there, not helpful at all. You still have another opportunity to track him. Do it, do it. There you go, my man. Okay, so you shot a little bit too much to the left because you were panicked, because he was almost turned around to you. So you should have taken that shot earlier. But if you shoot a little bit more on that wheel there, unless you get an odd ricochet as you pass through that space armor, you're going to deal damage. So that's what you want to shoot. This might hurt a little bit. And again, if you get close enough to the Type 4, so this is one of the things, if you get close enough to this Type 4, he's going to struggle to shoot you, and then you can shoot back to the JPE. You need to make sure that you're in a position, you need to be a little bit closer to him. So, let's see if we can get a good angle on this. Like, see how, if you're, let's see, how do I do this without, here, if we go from this side. Okay. So see how his gun is pointing down here? If instead of being where you are, you're right up next to him, see how that gun would just basically pass over the top of your turret? Like against a lot of these Japanese heavies, that's really what you need to be able to do. So you need to close that gap. But, okay, that worked too. Unfortunately, you could not save your friend. Shoot the drive wheel! No! Oh my god, so much wasted. Right, so again, once again, right, unless you're going to one-shot that guy, shooting him through where you shot him is not really helping you. Right, the odds of you ammo racking him with that shot are very, very low. All you got to do, hit that track. Take your time, hit that track. Non-turreted tank destroyer, always, always, always to your advantage. Make sure that you take those tracks. Otherwise, you got to wait for his benevolence. You still have an opportunity there. Not entirely sure why you were. This is a little risky. Alright, so a couple things. It would have been very easy for you to kill that JPE. It also wouldn't have been easy per se, but you also could have potentially saved your 121 if you had tracked him earlier while he was dealing with the Type 4. Otherwise, at this point, yeah, run away. Like, there's no need to engage that guy once you've disengaged. So go and see if you can help out your team someplace else, whether it's pushing around through the back or doing something. Something other than trying to duel that guy. And then you just need to be concerned because the ISU is in the back here someplace as well. Oh, now he shoots the drive wheel. And again, you shot it a little bit on the outside. That's a good shot. Like that's the shot that you should take. That tracking shot. But if you shoot a little bit more on the inside, that'll also be a track and a damage. That was a little bit too inside. And you just basically want to keep this 183 lit so that your mouse can get shots on him. And so what you don't want to do is you don't want to create an increased gap in this particular case. You actually want to be really close to make him have to drive all the way over in order to get you. You still have friends over here. It's just a matter of whether they get there in time. Well, now you know where the ISU is at. Just go. Especially when you see people distracted like this, like he's obviously aiming in on this guy over here. You know the ISU is not there to save him. Just get to the side. There you go. There you go, my man. And then limited turret. All you gotta do is be behind him, and it's GG. Ruh-roh. There's not a whole lot that you can do about that. But Wasn't really anticipating that one. Oh, I guess he was coming after the mounts. I forgot about that. And we'll stick around for a little bit to watch the outcome of this game. This tense matchup. Looks like both of you guys are leaving. Cap them out! The JPE is low, and so that's potentially good, but I don't know. It's gonna take the JPE a while to get anywhere. No, where are you going, STB? Where are you going? You know where all the tanks are, just get on the cap. And then you'll see a lot of people do this. I don't think this is a good idea. Like, see how they're sitting out here? This actually allows your opponent to get a shot on you. I would much rather not know in this particular case than give them potentially a free shot. And yeah, it would be a hope shot, but they don't have to take it. Like, you know where you think that they're coming from, so you can back off. Like, if you wanted to play this differently, especially if you're the one that gets on the cap first, like, so let's say the Scorpion got on the cap here, then this guy can stay on the hill. As long as their team is not capping, this STB can stay on that hill and just cover from above, basically. But if they get on cap, then he needs to get on cap, right? So if they put one on cap, then he needs to come over here and get on the cap. If they put two on cap, obviously he needs to get on the cap. But as long as you have the cap lead, you don't need both on cap if you want to screen. But what you don't want to do is have on cap and be in a position where you guys can get shot, because this is the, you know, when we talk about things, when we talk about reducing things in the game, it's like, how is the only way that you can lose? The only way that you can lose if it's an even team, right? This is 2v2. You know that the JPE is not in the immediate area, or at least you don't think the JPE is in the immediate area. You know that the 140 will have an opportunity to get back if you only have one in cap. So if you play the one in cap, then the one in cap should be all the way in the back, and the screener should be over the top. But if you put two on cap, then there's no real need for you guys to be here, because this is the only way that you potentially lose this game, is if this 140 gets a shot, like let's say he gets a shot that kills the Scorpion G, right? And then it's a 1v1, or maybe the JPE now is over here, right? And so if the JPE is on the cap, so he's out of the equation, and the 140 kills the Scorpion, then all he has to do is reset the STB once, and then you lose, right? And so when we talk about reducing games to decisions, like, a lot of times is, if I have the advantage, right? If I'm playing, you know, like we'll talk about American football example, right? So if I've got a 7-point lead, and the option is, oh, okay, you know, the other team is on the 50, and the option is, hey, I'm gonna give up a 30-yard pass or the Hail Mary. You're okay with giving up the 30-yard pass, because the 30-yard pass, I mean, it's going to give them a field goal, but they still got to make another pass. They still need to make another pass to get to the touchdown. You can't just allow them to have a Hail Mary chance to win. If you can stamp that out, if you can guarantee that there's not going to be a Hail Mary, then you should guarantee that there's not going to be a Hail Mary. IMO. And again, one of the things that we brought up in the last match is very similar for this one, which is that, you know, it's not about thinking all of these things through while they're happening. It's about, and I have no idea where the hell their team went, by the way, but it's not about thinking these things through while they're happening, but it's about forming good habits, like thinking about them afterwards, of being like, yeah, you know, maybe we didn't need to be sitting out there, like it worked out, but you know, we don't really know where their team was. Or, as often happens, if that 140 did come through and managed to clip the Scorpion G as their JPE got on the cap, and then just reset the STB once, then you lose, right? And then you hopefully learn from that of, okay, well, we probably didn't need to be sitting out there. We could have been sitting back here, force them to drive all the way in, and then just try to screen that Scorpion as best as possible. But that at least gives you that multitude of time. You didn't need that multitude of time because I don't know what their team was doing, but they're obviously not coming back to reset the cap. That was not a big concern there. But overall, I thought you played that really well as a light tank. I'm always skeptical when I see these light tank reviews because I'm always scared that they're just going to be sitting back and sniping, and you didn't do that, which is good. You were involved. You were looking to assist your team for the most part, and I think that's good. I feel like you bled out way more than was necessary against that WZ-131, especially if they don't have position over here. You shouldn't feel rushed. And their guys were all very, very slow to get out to the southwest. So you should have just dealt with that WZ-131 and, maybe taken half health damage, like maybe, but you lost, 1,000 health to that 131, and that's pretty unacceptable. And then the other thing that you should just really focus on is really shooting tracks, especially on these non-turreted tank destroyers. That allows you to do two things. One, it helps out your teammates, like that 121 that was over here would have really appreciated it if you could have kept that JPE tracked a little bit more. But two, that makes it easier for you because then you've got one less thing that you need to be fixated on in terms of things that want to punch you in the face. And then you probably could have killed that JPE, but once you create that distance between you, it's good that you don't go back and try to challenge him, to fight him honorably face to face. Like that's not ever to your advantage. And so I say this a lot in the stream, but one of the things that I always say is that, like, if this JPE is over here and he's not really hurting your team, just leave him there. Like he's not going to do a whole lot through there. Just leave and go someplace else where you're going to be relevant. And so you did, and you did a good job against that FE-183, and then that 140 killed your mouse and then came through and killed you. But that'll happen. I felt like it was overall a well-played round as far as playing a light tank. Again, just a minor quibble would be just look to get those track shots, particularly on those tank destroyers. Pretty good. 4K damage. Yeah, I don't really know what their 140 was doing at the end there. But typically speaking, I mean, if you feel like you have the advantage, you want to maybe split up depending on the like, let's say all else being equal, you have the same amount of power, the same amount of health. You might want to split up. Or if you feel like you have an advantage, you might want to split up. But like if you feel you're at a disadvantage, you probably want to either push an ISO if you feel like they're in an ISO situation, or do what these guys did, which was basically push the cap, and then just hope that their team didn't try to prevent you from capping, which apparently their team did not. Okay. Otherwise, GG, well played. I'm happy that you won.